that is related to this, that's time synchronization. It's relatively simple, but then if you go through all the details, it gets a bit more complicated, and so on. So first of all, we also updated in release 19 and we aligned MBS. So it was more also identifying a bug fix. It has a bit to do also with the object repair. There is generally a requirement that the MBS can time synchronize with the 5G system with a precision of at least 1 millisecond, support certain MBS user service functions. And similar to MBMS, which was upgraded in release 19 to address some of these, we allow two ways to do this. One is usage of SIP9. In that case, the MBMS client may obtain the information from SIP9 to synchronize the system clock of the UE to the UTC wall clock. But what we now say is, if you carry SIP9 in the radio frequency, make sure that the MBS functions that create timestamps in user service description FTTs are aligned and time synchronized to the same UTC wall clock as this one, right? Because if that is not the case, you're synchronizing to something that is off. So this is kind of a network requirement. We allow a second option, and that is what was allowed in MBMS before, but it was referring to an SNTP service. And we identified it was a bit underspecified. It was more like, okay, there is an SNTP maybe somewhere. Good luck and find it. So now we have the ability to do things. We have an address where you find an SNTP service or generally a time service, and we allow that the time service is not SNTP only. What we ask that at least one of these two options, either SIP9 or the time service, shall be provided by the networks. And if both are offered, we prefer the SIP9 because the SIP9 is not creating unicast traffic, right? So that's the preference. This is the diagram. This time synchronization function is logically added to the AS because it's using a unicast connection. What I figured out when doing this today, there might be a potential bug because we forgot, we added the time synchronization or the time service to the textual description. We didn't add it to the diagram here. So now it's not necessarily a bug, but I think it would improve it because here it's object repair, but not time sync. Going into stage 3, there is not a lot more, but maybe that is a relief for Daniel. The first thing is we implement this in the USD parameter, and that tells you, is the RAN time transmitted, right? Is the SIP9 transmitted? And the other one is you can specify one or multiple time service endpoints where you find a wall clock you can synchronize. And what we do is you can basically specify the protocol scheme, the endpoint, which is an address defined by the protocol scheme, and then there's another one, you can define the accuracy. So I'm telling you I am within 100 milliseconds accuracy, I'm guaranteeing on time service, or 1 second. If it's not specified, it requires to be within 1 second tolerance. And the semantics of the parameters are described as well. There's no more details on the procedures or protocols because stage 2 is pretty explicit here, or it's the protocol. And the defined schemes is actually, we didn't invent anything. We just say we use the time service schemes that were defined in MPEG- and explain this in the annex. Okay, what would have to be done on the transmitter? You need to add SIP9 with the wall clocking, and then also obviously synchronize on the transmitter with the SIP9. The protocol schemes need to be addressed on AS, but there are existing time services such as from Akamai. So maybe it's just a signaling question if we say we logically integrate the Akamai timing service into our AS physically. And there is a reference receiver that needs to access SIP9, implement the protocols to access sync for the time synchronization, and use the information for synchronizing USD and FTT. So basically, that you interpret this accordingly. Okay, that's it. Thank you.